My friend, there are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart. The plans you built crumble, the dreams you once held tightly begin to fade. You look around and wonder, where did I go wrong? You pray and wait, but heaven seems silent. You try to understand, but the answers don't come, and in that silence you begin to feel lost, forgotten, unseen. But I want to tell you something powerful. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not walking through this pain without purpose. God sees exactly where you are, and He is not finished with you. Even when life hurts, even when the road feels dark, even when you can't see the next step, God's plan is still working through your pain. Pain has a way of making us question everything. We begin to ask, if God loves me, why am I hurting? If God has a plan, why does it feel so hard? But what if the pain itself is part of the plan? What if the struggle is shaping something within you that comfort never could? Think about Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. For years he must have wondered, where is God in this? Yet when God finally elevated him to power, Joseph looked back and said, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." The same pit that looked like punishment became the doorway to his destiny. That's how God works. He doesn't waste pain. He transforms it. He turns it into purpose. The place where you feel broken is often the very place where God is building something new. When you're in the middle of pain, you don't see the full picture. It's like staring at the back of a tapestry. You see knots, tangles, and colors that make no sense. But when you turn it over, you see beauty in design. That's how God's plan looks. From your side, it might look messy, but from His side, it's a masterpiece. Sometimes God removes things not to punish you, but to prepare you. He closes doors because He knows what's behind them could destroy you. He allows detours because the direct route would have weakened you. God's plan often requires pain because pain is the pressure that shapes the soul. When gold is purified, it must go through fire. When a diamond is formed, it must endure crushing. When a seed grows, it must break open. Pain is not evidence that God has left you. It's evidence that He is working deeply within you. Maybe you're in a place where you've lost something precious, a relationship, a job, a dream. You feel like everything you built is gone, but remember this: God never subtracts without the intention to multiply. He never removes something without preparing to replace it with something better. The emptiness you feel right now may be the very space where God plans to pour His greatest blessing. You may say, "But I can't take it anymore." And maybe you're right, maybe you can't. But God never asked you to carry it alone. The weight that's crushing you today is meant to push you closer to His strength, not your own. He says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." When you feel weak, that's when His power becomes visible. When you fall apart, that's when His hands hold you together. The breaking is not the end. It's the beginning of something holy. Look at the cross. The greatest pain the world has ever seen brought forth the greatest redemption the world has ever known. What looked like defeat was victory in disguise. The nails that pierced Christ's hands were not the end of the story. They were the beginning of salvation. If God could turn the cross into victory, He can turn your pain into purpose. The cross reminds us that pain is never wasted in the hands of God. It becomes the very tool He uses to bring life out of death, strength out of weakness, and beauty out of ashes. Maybe you feel like your prayers are bouncing off the ceiling. You've asked God to change your situation, but He hasn't. Could it be that God is using the situation to change you? Sometimes He doesn't take away the storm because He wants to teach you how to stand in it. He doesn't calm the waves immediately because He wants you to learn to walk on them. In the book of James, we are told to count it all joy when you face trials, and not because pain feels good, but because pain produces something eternal. It produces perseverance, it grows faith, it deepens trust, it teaches you that when all else fails, God remains. When you go through suffering, you begin to discover who God truly is, not just as a concept, but as a companion. You realize He's not a distant God watching from heaven. He's right there with you in the fire, in the valley, in the tears. The same God who was with Daniel in the lion's den is with you when life feels unbearable. The same God who walked through the flames with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego walks beside you when you can't see a way out. And when you come out on the other side, and you'll realize something powerful. The pain didn't destroy you, it refined you. The tears didn't drown you, they cleansed you. The waiting didn't waste you, it prepared you. One day, you'll thank God not only for the blessings, but for the burdens that led you closer to Him. You'll understand that the pain was never meant to break you, it was meant to build your faith. God's plan is not always comfortable, but it is always perfect. You may not understand it now, but you don't have to. He's not asking you to have all the answers, He's asking you to trust Him in the questions. Think of a child holding their father's hand while walking through a dark room. The child doesn't need to see the light, they just need to know who's holding them. That's what faith is, trusting the one who holds you, even when you can't see the path ahead. So, when life hurts, when you feel broken, when nothing makes sense, don't give up. Don't lose heart. God's silence is not His absence. His delay is not His denial. He's working in the waiting, shaping you for something greater than you can imagine. Every scar you carry is a story of survival. Every wound that healed is a testimony of grace. And every valley you've walked through has brought you closer to the shepherd who never let you go. You are not lost. You are not too late. You are not beyond His plan. God still has a purpose for your life, and this pain is part of your preparation. There will come a day when you'll look back and see how every heartbreak, every setback, and every disappointment was leading you to something greater, something only God could see. You'll see how He used every season to strengthen your character, deepen your compassion, and increase your faith. So right now, while you're still in the middle of it, choose to trust. Choose to believe that the same God who brought light out of darkness can bring beauty out of your brokenness. When the world says, "You're finished," God says, "I'm just getting started." When your heart says, "There's no way," God whispers, "I am the way." When you say, "I can't," God says, "With me, you can." The pain you feel today is not the end, it's the planting of a seed. And just like a seed must go into the darkness of the soil before it breaks into life, your soul must sometimes walk through darkness before it blossoms into purpose. Don't despise the season of struggle. Don't curse the place of pain. This is the soil of your transformation. The place that hurts the most may be the very place God chooses to reveal His glory. So lift your eyes, even through the tears. Whisper a prayer, even if your voice shakes. Tell God, "I don't understand, but I trust you." That's all He needs, your surrender, not your strength. And one day, you'll see why the waiting was necessary, why the pain had a purpose, and why the delay was divine. You'll see how God was weaving a story that only He could write, a story of redemption, resilience, and relentless love. Because no matter where you are right now, no matter how deep the pain, God's plan is still moving. His hand is still guiding, His heart is still for you, and the pain you're enduring today will one day become the platform for the purpose He's preparing. So don't give up, keep trusting, keep believing, keep walking, for even in your deepest sorrow, even in your greatest confusion, God's plan works through your pain. And when the dawn breaks and the storm clears, you'll discover that what felt like breaking was really God's way of building something beautiful, a stronger faith, a deeper peace, and a greater purpose. Your pain is not wasted. Your story is not over. You are right where God can do His greatest work, in the middle of your pain, preparing you for His promise. There are seasons in life when everything seems uncertain, when doors close unexpectedly, when prayers feel unanswered, when the path ahead is covered in fog. You try to make sense of it all, but nothing seems clear. You feel lost, confused, and perhaps even forgotten. Yet it's in these very moments that God whispers the words our hearts need most. Trust me. You see, trusting God's timing and direction isn't always easy. We live in a world that wants everything now, instant answers, quick solutions, fast success. But God doesn't work on human schedules. His ways are higher, His timing is perfect, and His direction, though sometimes mysterious, always leads to the best destination. The challenge is that we often want to see the map before we take the journey, but faith doesn't work that way. Faith is walking step by step, believing that even when we don't know what's next, God does. When you feel lost, it doesn't mean you've stepped outside God's plan. Sometimes the feeling of being lost is part of His way of drawing you closer. God doesn't always show us the entire path because He wants us to learn dependence not on our strength, not on our plans, but on His presence. When we can't trace His hand, we can still trust His heart. Think about Abraham. God told him to leave his home, his comfort, his country, and go to a land that He would show him. Not a land Abraham already knew, not a destination he could plot on a map. Just a promise: go, and I will show you. That's trust. Abraham didn't know where he was going, but he knew who was leading him, and that was enough. In our lives, we often want God to reveal the whole picture. We want to know how every prayer will be answered, when every dream will come true, and why every hardship had to happen. But God rarely gives us the full plan in advance, because if we knew everything, we wouldn't need faith. He gives us light for the next step, not the whole staircase, and when we walk in that light, trusting Him with each step, He leads us exactly where we need to be. Sometimes trusting God's timing means accepting His not yet. We pray, we wait, and nothing seems to move. But delay does not mean denial. God often delays because He's developing something deeper in us: patience, character, and humility. If He gave us what we wanted too soon, we wouldn't be ready to handle it. There's a powerful truth hidden in the waiting seasons of life. God's preparation always comes before His promotion. Before David became king, he spent years tending sheep in the wilderness. Before Joseph ruled in Egypt, he spent time in prison. Before Moses led the Israelites, he spent decades in the desert. Those seasons of waiting were not wasted. They were essential. God was shaping them, refining them, teaching them to depend fully on Him. In the same way, your waiting is not wasted. What feels like a delay is often divine preparation. God is preparing your heart for the blessing He's preparing for you. He's aligning people, opportunities, and moments in ways you can't yet see. Every not yet from God is an invitation to trust Him more deeply. Maybe you've been praying for something, a breakthrough, a healing, a change, and it hasn't come. You wonder, did God forget me? No, He hasn't. Sometimes God delays to protect you. Sometimes He delays to strengthen you. And sometimes He delays because what you're asking for is too small compared to what He wants to give you. When God says wait, it's not punishment, it's purpose. It's His way of saying, I'm not finished yet, trust me. We must also remember that trusting God's direction means being willing to follow even when the path doesn't make sense. God often leads us down roads we wouldn't choose ourselves, because those are the roads that change us. Think of Jonah. When he ran from God's direction, he ended up in the belly of a great fish. But when he finally surrendered and followed God's plan, he became the instrument of an entire city's salvation. God's direction isn't always comfortable, but it's always correct. You may not understand why you lost that job, why that relationship ended, or why that door closed. But one day, you will look back and see that every closed door protected you, every detour redirected you, and every heartbreak prepared you. God's direction doesn't always make sense in the moment, but it makes perfect sense in hindsight. When God guides, He doesn't promise an easy path, He promises His presence. That's what gives us peace in uncertainty. The same God who led Israel through the wilderness by a pillar of cloud and fire is the same God who leads you today. The same voice that calmed the storm can calm your heart if you'll only trust Him. Trusting God's timing also means releasing control. We like to hold the pen and write our own stories, but when we do, we often end up anxious and exhausted. Peace comes when we give the pen back to God and say, "Lord, write my story according to your will, not mine." And maybe that's where you are right now, tired of trying to fix everything on your own. You've prayed, planned, and pushed, but nothing's changing. Friend, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop striving and start surrendering. Let go of the need to understand and simply trust the one who understands all things. There is freedom in surrender. There is peace in trust. When you place your life fully in God's hands, you stop carrying the weight that was never yours to bear. The same hands that shaped the universe can surely shape your future. Remember this: God is never early and He's never late. He's always on time, His time. He knows what you need when you need it and how to bring it about. You might be waiting now, but His plan is already in motion. What feels delayed to you is perfectly aligned in heaven's timeline. There's a story told of a man who found a cocoon with a butterfly struggling to emerge. Wanting to help, he gently cut open the cocoon so the butterfly could get out easily. But the butterfly's wings were weak, and it couldn't fly. The struggle that man interrupted was the very process that would have made the butterfly strong enough to soar. Sometimes, when we try to rush God's process, we rob ourselves of the strength He's trying to build in us. Don't despise the struggle. It's shaping your wings. God's direction may lead you through valleys before you reach the mountaintop, but those valleys are not permanent. The valley is where you learn to depend on Him, where your faith grows roots deep enough to withstand any storm. When you finally reach the mountain, you'll understand that every step of the journey had purpose. In Proverbs 3:5-6, Scripture says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths." That's the foundation of trust, not leaning on what we can see, feel, or figure out, but leaning on the one who sees the end from the beginning. To trust God's direction means to obey even when it's hard. Sometimes He calls us to forgive when we want revenge, to stay when we want to leave, to wait when we want to run. Each act of obedience strengthens your faith and draws you closer to His will. God's plan doesn't always unfold in the way we expect. You might think the road you're on is a detour, but it's not its divine direction. Every challenge, every delay, every disappointment is a piece of the bigger picture. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll see how every piece fit perfectly into the masterpiece God was creating in your life. There's a peace that comes when you finally let go of the need to control the outcome and simply trust the process. God's timing might seem slow, but His promises are sure. When He says He will make a way, He means it. When He says He will never leave you, He means it. When He says all things will work together for your good, He means every single word. So, if you feel lost today, take heart. The God who guided Noah to safety, Ruth to redemption, and Paul through persecution is the same God guiding you right now. You may not see the full path, but He's already gone ahead to prepare it. You just have to keep walking in faith. The waiting season is not a wasted season. It's the soil where faith grows. It's where trust takes root. It's where you learn that God is enough even when nothing else makes sense. And when the time is right, His time, everything will fall into place. The doors will open, the answers will come, and what once seemed confusing will become clear. You'll see that every delay had purpose, every setback was a setup, and every no was leading to a better yes. God's plan for you is not fragile. It cannot be ruined by your mistakes, delayed by others' actions, or destroyed by circumstances. His plan stands firm because it's built on His power, not yours. You just need to keep believing, keep trusting, and keep following where He leads. Even when you don't understand His timing, trust it. Even when you don't understand His direction, follow it, because the God who holds tomorrow knows exactly what He's doing today. And one day you'll look back and realize that everything, the waiting, the confusion, the silence, was leading you to something far greater than you ever imagined. You'll thank Him not just for the destination, but for the journey that taught you to trust Him completely. So, if you're standing in uncertainty today, lift your eyes to heaven and whisper, "Lord, I trust you." Trust His timing, trust His direction, trust His heart, because He has never failed and He never will. When you do, you'll find peace in the waiting, strength in the storm, and purpose in every step. You'll realize that the very path that felt confusing was actually leading you to the place where your faith would finally say, "Now I see God was guiding me all along."